is your personal discipline. The habits and disciplines that we maintain when we're not, what's the saying? Character is what you do in the dark or something. So when we're by ourselves, and this is kind of like going back over your calendar, where are you spending your time? But one of the things I was thinking of when you were talking about how, with the kids in Sunday school and how we treat them, but also that we're not benefiting from them, and so our joy, you didn't say joy, but this is all about the kids, is I thought of, I've said this many times, is our discipline, like doing the work of God. We can get frustrated if we're we're over here cleaning and scrubbing and these people are over there talking and stuff after an event or something like that. And I used to, and we can get frustrated at some of those things. And I'm not saying I don't anymore, but I kind of have a different mindset. Now it's the consistency and the joy in knowing that God sees it. Yeah. And that I'm doing this. This is not, this podcast on the level of importance is really, really low. But I've mentioned it before. One of the cool things is that we went, we've gone a little over a year now of consistently putting one out every Friday. And so things like that, and again, it's not important. It's just an example. But if we can be consistent and have the discipline to do hard things, but also to just do things over and over and over again.
Yeah. And it's not always about getting recognition. So hopefully this doesn't come across the wrong way, but something I do on a regular basis that not a lot of people even know about. In fact, Pastor Maeve even forgot he's seen me one time doing it, but is I'll come on a regular basis and just pick up trash in the parking lot.
Oh, right.
Yep. And rain. One time it was so cold I could barely feel my hands by the time I got done.
You're like those sticks picking up the trash.
Yeah, it's like my fingers were like chopsticks picking up something. Because I just feel such an obligation to do something for God because He's done so much for me, and it doesn't have to. And I want it to be things that are like, I want to remain humble, kind of like David was always humble, no matter the positions he was in. But so I am in a somewhat leadership position at this church, and I don't ever want to let that get to my head. And so, I wanted to make sure that God knows I want to remain humble and that I care about the kingdom more than just being on the platform or being in chapel or being on anything like that. And so I was coming down, and I wanted to make sure nobody saw me. And so for a long time, nobody ever seen me. I just happened to work out to where nobody saw me doing it. And
it's just the joy of knowing that I did this.
And the first time that somebody actually saw me, they were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I almost wanted to lie, because I didn't want them to really know what I was doing, not because I was ashamed, because I just I don't want any recognition.
Yeah, you weren't doing it for the recognition.
And I was like, just picking up a few things. I saw trash, just picking it up, no big deal. And then Pastor actually seen me, and he asked me that same question, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, just coming in, picking up a few pieces of garbage." He's like, "Do you do that very often?" And at that point, it had been once a week for the past 6 months or something. I was like,
"Oh yeah."
Well, you can't lie to your man of God. So I was like, "Yeah, occasionally." He's like, "Oh, did anybody tell you to do that?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Oh, okay." And but I felt kind of awkward. I was like, I just don't want it to be about me. But that's the things, is that we have to have that discipline to be who we are all the time, no matter what.
Right.
Even if nobody's watching. I had to know living life with integrity. Because it's not about recognition. It's not about getting known or seen or having Pastor give you that attaboy. Because he didn't even say "oh, thank you," and I didn't really bother me at all, because that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
And I want to have this discipline. I want to have this way that I am all the time, no matter who's watching.
Right. No matter who notices.
Because God's always watching.
God notices, and that's what matters.
Yep.
Well, that's